Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I'm proud to say I've got two filmmakers on Zoom right now. I've got Beth Goer and Kip Calendine. We just had a nice hour-plus talk about them and their film Three Roads, which was a feature that was at Film Invasion Los Angeles in 2020. But this episode of the podcast, by the way, hi to both of you. I said that as Kip was drinking water.
Hi.
Hi.
And this episode, they're going to be answering the four questions. The Discover Indie Film four questions are: favorite films of all time, a film that's underrated, a film that's overrated, and a lesser-known film that people should seek out. This is just really to have fun, and if y'all are ever down in Los Angeles, I know you're up in Northern California, but every once in a while, before COVID, we would actually have everyone who'd done the podcast, like we'd all meet at a Mexican restaurant, and then I would have fun because I could point at a filmmaker and go, all right, you put Dark Knight in your top three. You said Dark Knight was overrated. Discuss
nice.
It. Kind of fun.
With boxing gloves on and stuff.
So I believe Kip Calendine's going to go first.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What are your favorites? It says limit 3, but you could always break it if you want.
All right. I always try to really stick to the rules because, like, I don't know if you read like the Criterion magazines and stuff, but there's certain filmmakers where it's like their top 10 and it ends up being like 30 movies, and it always feels like cheating to me. It's like part of the fun is like, you know, killing some off. Yeah. So I'll stick to 3, and then I don't know if you guys want to hear more. That's fine. So my number 1 would probably be The Apartment. I love that film. Number 2 would be, and I guess they're actually kind of interchangeable. There's not really much of a pecking order. Would be Y Tu Mamá También. Number 3, I'd say, would be Jaws.
That's a solid list. You know, it's funny. I saw The Apartment so long ago. I'm not pulling any of the. I'm getting my hard drive. That section of my hard drive went blank.
It's not clicking.
Not clicking.
Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine.
Yes.
Yeah. Billy Wilder. I mean, great movie, you know, and in my opinion, I mean, it's like there's aspects of it that are very dated, but then the themes of it are timeless, you know, like finding your spine. Talk about it like a late age coming of age film. You know, I think The Apartment is that quintessentially.
For sure. And Y Tu Mamá is a bit of a masterpiece. There's no denying it.
Yeah.
And Jaws. What are you going to say about Jaws?
What hasn't been said? I mean, it's just, I think it's impeccable, you know. It does what it sets out to do so well, while also paying honor to the characters, you know. I mean, it's like, I think Spielberg kind of, you know, he perfected the popcorn flick at the apotheosis of the popcorn flick. Like it was all, you know, downhill from there, really.
Kind of. I was going to, in a way, talking to you, I was thinking to say something along the lines of, it was made when Spielberg still sort of had that indie drive, like that, you know, made him make a film, you know, like The Car and whatnot, or whatever, you know, like he still, he wasn't all about the polish.
Yeah. Right. And it's funny. It's like, you know, with that movie, it's like, there's a lot of little technical things that if you pay really close attention to, you know, they'll jump out at you. Like there's like some really big continuity error where the little kid gets eaten. Spoiler alert, the little kid gets eaten. I think on like July 4th or something like that. And then later there's like a town hall meeting and it's like June 27th or 8th or something. My mom points it out every time we watch the movie and drives me nuts. But it's like, you know, Spielberg's so good at that stuff where it's like, you don't wonder why where the T-Rex came out from now is now just this sudden drop into, you know, a canopy of a tree. It's like you're so involved in the characters and the drama that it just flows right over you and you don't really care.
Absolutely. And you can't beat a shark movie. I'll just say that as someone whose teenage stepdaughter is all about the horror films. We've watched so many shark movies during lockdown because they're the best predator. What's scarier than a shark?
I mean, Sharknado, Jeff. It's like a Sharknado.
Yeah, that's right. A tornado made of sharks. I mean, yeah, it's like the perfect Jungian, like, archetypal symbol of death and how death makes us feel, and also the ocean wrapped up into that. And,
yeah, and fear, just pure fear of a... Because also we're so lame in the water.
Yeah, we suck in the water. We're not good at it. I still have I forget what it's called, but like a fear of the open ocean and of like deep ocean. And
me too. I have that too.
Yeah, it's like, there was one time I maybe almost drowned at the beach or something, but I think Jaws has something to do with it,
I mean, when I was a kid in the 70s and Jaws came out, I didn't even see Jaws. And the previews, when you were in a swimming pool, it was a little scary. Like, you were like, what's behind me?
That's great.
For sure. All right, well, Sarah, you want to do your favorites?
Yeah. Okay. So I obsessed over this question because I wanted to name a film that would like encapsulate everything that inspires me as a filmmaker and represent me so well. And the truth is there is no film that is that. For me, like the things that inspire me the most are like moments in films that are typically performance moments, but part of why they're so brilliant is not just that the performance of that moment is brilliant, but how the story and direction led up to that moment. And right. So I couldn't name like one film that is the film for me. So instead I decided to go with the films that just like linger in my heart and that I will watch over and over. And I'm kind of going to cheat because one's just a film and then the other two are like categories. So the first one is Lars and the Real Girl. Really lingers in my heart and impacts me whenever I watch it. And then the second is a category, which is rom-coms that are just fun to watch but have more depth there. And the two for me are Kissing Jessica Stein and Keeping the Faith. Because that's so my thing, where it's like, it's just a fun rom-com, but there's more there. Like, I want that fun relaxation, but I love the complexity of humans too much that when you give it to me in like where there are three-dimensional characters or people doing stupid things or things that aren't believable, I can't really go with it. So those two rom-coms, and then stuff the DuPlass brothers make. That's my third favorite movie. And I can't name like one of their films because it isn't that I think any one of their films is so brilliant that everybody should see that film. Rather, I'm so inspired by the way they tell stories. They're so human and relatable and funny, but in a human way. And they're simple and clean, and the craft is strong, and I admire them as business people. But if you want to go watch one, go watch Language Lessons, which is one of the most recent. Natalie Morales and Mark Duplass made that together. They wrote and directed, Natalie Morales directed, and then I think they made it in like 2 weeks in quarantine or something ridiculous like that. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I was a little old to catch the Duplasses when they hit, and sure. I've become a retroactive fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Have you ever watched This Is John, the short film that like blew up their careers? It's online for free. It's the one. It's the one that went to Sundance and finally made their careers launch.
This is John.
This is John. Can I tell this? I won't tell the story actually, because so many indie filmmakers have seen it, but like, it's so like, the long story short is they kept trying to be filmmakers. They aren't, and their film careers weren't working. And they finally were like, fuck this, go to the store, grab a, tape for our shitty camcorder that has a broken pixel, and by the time I get back from the store to buy that tape, you come up with a story, and we're shooting something today. And that's what they made, and it finally worked because they made something that was so them, instead of, they always say they were trying to be the Coen brothers, and they wanted to be the Coen brothers, and instead this was the first film they made that was just what they needed to tell, and that's the film that hit and made their careers take off.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to check it out. I really liked
This Is John. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Creep is really good too.
Yeah. All right, well, Sarah, you get to go first on the underrated question.
Okay. Again, I kind of cheated because it's a Pixar film that won Oscars, so I can't really say it's underrated. Coco. But the reason I'm calling it underrated is because I think a lot of filmmakers they might not take animated films as seriously. And I also don't think it's the most popular Pixar film that's ever been created. But every time I watch that film, I think to myself, like, it cannot be as good as I remembered it. And then I get to the end of the film and I'm like, oh my God. I'm not like a super humble person. I like to be like in the center. I like to be leading or like driving a vision. But when I watch that film, I'm like, if I were like an intern artist who drew like one leaf on one tree in the background that nobody ever noticed, I would be so proud that I was a part of that incredible, incredible production. And I can't even say why. I don't remember why. Every time I go to watch it, I'm like, I don't know why. It wasn't that good, was it? And then I feel that way at the end of it. So Coco.
That's a pretty magical film.
It's incredible. It's so beautiful.
I love the use of the alebrijes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have those around our house. All right. So, Kip, what's your underrated?
I would pick the movie Mother by the Darren Aronofsky one. It's interesting. I just saw some article, or maybe it was a blog post or something, talking about how that's one of like 6 movies on Letterboxd, I think, that has an F, which is really surprising to me because I went to see it not knowing anything about it other than Jennifer Lawrence is in it and it's Darren Aronofsky. And like, that was a wild ride. That's like one of the movie going experiences from the last 20 years that I'm like, I'm really glad I saw it in theaters and went into it not knowing what to expect at all. And, later on I found out, I read about how people thought like the allegory was on the nose. And I mean, maybe it's like I'm a little thick, but like I didn't even really recognize the allegory. I just thought a lot of really weird, surreal stuff was happening and was just tripping. But yeah, that would be my pick.
It's so interesting. I hadn't recorded a podcast for a long time because I took a break during the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. And last night I talked to someone and he named Mother as his underrated.
Really?
And I'm one of the people who is a genuine Aronofsky fan. Mm-hmm. One of my first dates with a person I'm spending the rest of my life with was to pie. And yet, like the reviews of Mother kept us away. So now I realize I got to hit Mother.
I loved it. Yeah.
Excellent. Good recommendation, both of you. All right. So now comes fun. Kip, you get to go first for Overrated.
Overrated, I would have to say I think Lord of the Rings is pretty overrated. I don't know. It never did it for me. I used to get made fun of by my other film nerd friends in high school for not liking it. But I just never really connected with the characters, I think. For me, it's like,
it's interesting. It's become more, I get what you're saying. I mean, I thought they were amazing when they came out. And then after a couple Game of Thrones binges, we were looking for something else to watch, and I was like, because a friend was coming over to watch Game of Thrones with us, so she was like, "What are we going to watch next?" I'm like, "Hey, let's hit the extended versions of Lord of the Rings," because I had never seen them. And after, like, Lord of the Rings already felt dated. Like the way I was like, "Wow, if this was made today, it would be so different." Like, because Game of Thrones really like kind of, I don't know. I feel like Game of Thrones took fantasy to another level, and Lord of the Rings was feeling kind of old in the tooth. I guess that's how it should be for a film written 70. I mean, books written 60, 70 years ago. But.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like I'm blown away by the technical prowess of it, and the level of craftsmanship that is happening in every scene, and just the set design even, or the costume design is just mind-boggling. But I think it's just, I haven't read the books either, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it too. But it's like I never really felt like I understood the relationship between Samwise and Frodo. You know, like even to the point where he'd say, you called him Mr. Frodo, right? And I always thought that was weird. It's like, who calls their friend Mr. anything? Like, it's more like he's like his bagman or something. It's a little funny. Something
actually, it is. I mean, it's funny. There's a historical context, right? That it was written based upon the social strata of England. And so, yeah, officers were in World War I, where Tolkien was, like, officers were upper class and commoners were soldiers. And so, yeah, Sam's a commoner. It's like a commoner and a sir in a way. And it's something that we don't have in America we do have an upper class, but it's not that, like, because you were born to someone in the House of Lords, I must always call you Mr. I mean, it's very, doesn't really relate to us.
There's like maybe a little bit of social commentary in there of the commoner supporting the upper crust in there. Very honorable.
Yeah, honestly, Sam should have just told him to fuck off. Like, I mean, he gets put way too much leeway. Let the spider get him.
What if Sam took the ring and became all powerful and he's, like, why can't Sam have his moment?
I'm sure every fanfic version has been written.
For sure. All right, Sarah, you get to do Overrated.
The Big Short. What the F is that film? It is a mess and sexist. Why is it so popular? And I feel like we could have said some more profound things about that period in our economy. And that's all I have to say about it.
That's the Adam McKay one, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that he tried to make it Moneyball-ish, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it was like
quick explanations of the economy. And...
I feel like Adam McKay saw Wolf of Wall Street and like saw his calling or something. And I might even have the timeline wrong. Like maybe Big Short came out even before that, but yeah, kind of disappointing. One of the movies I was tempted to say was underrated is the movie Talladega Nights, actually. I think there's it's a silly movie, but like there's layers of social commentary in there that I think are really pretty profound, actually. And the filmmaking of that is actually really good. Like the car sequences and stuff are really solid, and the editing is just spot on. And yeah, his whole new style that he has, I've actually been kind of disappointed in.
It was just style over substance, The Big Short. And it was like kind of a mess how it was, for me, how it was put together structurally. And I'm like, what is everybody seeing in this that I'm not seeing? Is it just like the flash is so compelling to everyone? Like, what is happening? I don't understand.
It's very like deconstructionist. I mean, Dick, it was called Dick, right? The Cheney movie. It's kind of the same thing. Like have you seen that, Sarah?
No. Just trailers.
I skipped Dick.
Well, it's like one of those things where it's like, it's very like, I guess postmodern maybe, where it's like, there's one point where like a credit roll starts and you think it's a happy ending, but then he's like, but wait, the movie's not over. And it's like a lot of really self-conscious kind of jokes at the expense of the story almost.
I don't think I saw Dick, but that sounds totally familiar. Can't remember. But yeah, Adam McKay, so talented at comedy, and then I think it's great that he's trying to make mature, important films with a political message. But yeah, sometimes you wish he would go do a Talladega Nights or an Anchorman and just do it right.
Yeah.
But hey, no worries. All right, well, we're to the last question, which is a lesser known that people should seek out. And I think it's Kip's turn.
Okay. My pick for this was Schizopolis by Steven Soderbergh.
I love that film.
Okay, cool.
But I will admit that as a huge Soderbergh fan from the get-go, from when Sex, Lies, and Videotape came out when I was in college, I actually missed Schizopolis forever, and it was someone mentioning it on this podcast. I finally said, I got to watch this. It's on HBO Max, and I thought it was amazing. I thought his acting is
he's really good.
So good.
Yeah, like genuinely. Sarah, you might even like that because it's. I'll explain it for Sarah's sake. It's like he had made. Was it Kafka? He made that didn't do so hot, and he kind of had a bit.
Kafka didn't do so hot, but he burned himself. I think it was after that first Clooney one with Jennifer Lopez, and he like. Oh, and it was one he made with
I think that's the one I was under the impression he came back and did Out of Sight.
But he made something with Gallagher that like he was just making it to make it.
Yeah, there was
like a paycheck project, and
Grey's Anatomy
burnt him out.
So basically like he kind of hit a wall creatively, and his personal life was falling apart too. Like his marriage was failing and stuff, and he made this movie that's just zany, and he made it for. It sounds like very little money. And there's not even really a story. It's just like a collection of these weird oddball ideas. And, but it's hilarious, and it's a really wild ride. And it's like a really great exercise in just, you can be entertaining, and make a film without there being necessarily like a through line or even a point other than just to do something interesting, and it totally works.
Yeah, and if you have any taste for the absurd, if you enjoyed the occasional Monty Python sketch that made no sense, I think Schizopolis is right up your alley.
Yeah, the backdrop of knowing that he was having like a breakdown makes it all the better. It was like, that was you can tell it was like his art therapy, very much so. And he came out of it totally like. From outside appearances, like creatively rejuvenated too, which just makes it even sweeter. That's
true. I think you're right. After Schizopolis, he was reinvigorated, and then he did make the one with Clooney and J-Lo.
Yeah, I think it was like Out of Sight, and then Ocean's 11 was a little after that, and he hasn't stopped.
Yeah, he does.
He keeps saying he's going to.
For sure. All right, Sarah, lesser known to seek out.
Okay. Before I say this, I'm going to go back in time to Coco because I said, I can't even say what's so good about it. And I thought of two things that I want to honor it for, which is the world they created, the depth of the world, and the characters and their relationships, which included in that is the voice acting. And I was like, wait, I do have something to say about Coco. Okay, so coming back to lesser known.
Pixar does... Sorry to interrupt. Pixar does their voice acting really well. In my opinion, like I can't remember if DreamWorks is still making stuff, but it always sounded like actors were a little sleepy sounding in those movies. And then Pixar, it's like they're alive. It's really
it's very
I don't know how, but the level of Pixar, the scripts, the direction, the performance, everything about Pixar is just better.
Pretty sure there's a book about it, like the creator of Pixar talking about the how they created the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
Wasn't that we were talking about sexism in the last podcast, but John Lasseter, who is pretty much the heart and soul of Pixar, had some pretty big issues, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, he got kicked out of the company, and now Apple just gave him a ton of money to start an animation studio for them. For
okay.
Apple TV Plus. All right, I'm interrupting. Sarah, you have a lesser known to share, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do two. Cheating again. There is a movie on Hulu called In and of Itself, which was first a one-man show. And it is one of my favorite art pieces I've ever seen. Like, not even just film or theater art pieces. It's mind-boggling. And then there is a 16-minute short called Her Friend Adam that you can watch online for free that premiered at South by Southwest. Well, I don't know if premiered there. It showed at South by Southwest. And it is just like the best crafted film I've ever seen. And I find it remarkable because it's not even my sense of humor. Like, it is, cruder than my taste typically is, but it doesn't matter because it is so itself. Like, it is so being what it needs to be. And there's just some brilliant shit in it. And it's a dramedy. And the filmmaker said about the film, like when asked advice, is to make that thing that only you can make and make it for like your own self, your own entertainment. And that's his advice about art making. So I recommend Googling that one.
I love when people mention something like that. There's some films I saw at festivals in the 90s that never left me, quite memorable. And some got a little bit of distribution, some got none. Yeah, I imagine they might be findable now. But I don't know. Who takes a 30-year-old film and throws it on Prime? I don't know.
All depends on the filmmaker, what they felt like doing.
For sure. All right, well, thank you both for the lists. We'll tell people to watch Three Roads on Vimeo again. Go to Vimeo and search for Three Roads.
Yeah, and one of our names, either Sarah Beth Goer, Kip Calendine, and Three Roads on Vimeo. You should be able to find it that way.
Amanda Ives is easy to remember.
Yeah, Amanda Ives.
Yeah.
For sure. And my browser might be biased, but Three Roads Vimeo worked.
Perfect.
Works for me.
Easy peasy.
But you never know what
anyone can do it,
right?
Oh, that's true.
All right. Well, let me finish up by thanking Sarah Beth Goer and Kip Calendine for doing this. Watch their film Three Roads, and I'm going to now mention all the film festivals and stuff. I met these two because they submitted their film to Filmvasion Los Angeles, and it was an official selection in 2020. That festival is every June, so if you want to learn about it, go to filmvasionla.com or at filmvasionla on social media. Its sister festival is the Sherman Oaks Film Festival we hold every November, and that's ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And this podcast is called Discover Indie Film. There's actually a companion TV series on Amazon Prime Video. So just go to Amazon Prime Video and search for Discover Indie Film, and you'll see lots of cool stuff. And if you want to learn more about the podcast or the TV series, it's discoverindiefilm.com, and it's at DIFwins on social media. I've gotten pretty good at that spiel. I've done a lot.
Heck yeah.
Very professional. I just want to say, I think I can speak for Sarah and Amanda and probably every filmmaker whose lives you've touched, however in small a way. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you both. All right. Well, it was a pleasure. I feel like we've gone on a long road with Three Roads because, it's been on my radar a long time. I'm glad we finally got to do this podcast.
Yeah, it's been interesting from that first encouraging email, to where it's culminating now. It's been great.
Definitely. Thank you.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks so much. And thank you, everyone who's listening.